what's always kind of stood out for me and what I respected about you was kind of your brain and your forward thinking. And then you told me about this new idea, Mission Prime. What exactly is Mission Prime?
Yeah, Carc. Well, I appreciate you kind of saying that. I know we started to kind of build our relationship a little bit that senior year with the Through X stuff. So it's kind of funny how things have come full circle because, that experience has helped lead me to, what Mission Prime is today. I think it's really, a culmination of my experiences at Rutgers, my experiences now as a pro player, and just the relationships that I've built that have kind of led me to start this. And, the way that I look at it, it's really a college cheat code for these players, kind of giving them the answers to the test before they get to school. I think there's a misconception about, what it takes to achieve success at the college level. And that success is different for everyone. But I look at it, it's really only 30% on the field. And I think the rest is 70% off the field. So many players have the talent. I know you've seen that, I've seen that. But there's a reason why those players end up not succeeding. It's so much more about than just the talent and the skill. And for us, we really want to accelerate, that process of reaching your potential or, getting it to click for players when they get to school, and then mitigate the drowning that we end up seeing happening so often. And I'll talk more about that, but, freshman year, things pile on so fast. You don't play that freshman spring, and then all that self-confidence for the players is just diminished. And then their goals and their aspirations they had as recruits, they had that first semester just begin to dissipate. The entire Mission Prime can be really summed up by just owning your experience as a player.
You mentioned a term to me that I thought was really interesting. It's cheat code. Everyone is looking at what's next. So like to you and your group, what does college readiness mean to you?
Absolutely. And I think, again, it's one of those things that, there's a misconception about, right? I think there's, how many players, and I'll ask you this, have stepped onto campus really college ready? Obviously, a guy like Mike Powell, I know, 4-year first team All-American, 4-year attackman of the year, with two or three time Tewaaraton winner. He stepped onto campus and obviously, he had the physical talent. And I think there are extremely rare circumstances of players having a physical talent that separates them and puts them in a certain position to succeed right away. But I think that gives people a misconception about what it takes to be ready for college. We all have a learning curve. Mike Powell had a learning curve. Lyle Thompson had a learning curve. Players have learning curves. For us, it's about speeding up the process of that learning curve so that you can greater maximize that short 4-year window. And I think if you ask, anyone with their college experience that, at some point in time, it clicks. The players that end up having success, whether that clicks for you the spring of your freshman year or whether that clicks for you the spring or fall of your senior year, what we want to do is make that click sooner for you. And I think people need to understand that that's going to be different for everyone. And there's a target we're all trying to hit, but that target isn't standing still. It's always moving. And to think that target's just going to be right there all the time, set in stone, it's just wrong. And if it was right there, set in stone, everyone would be able to achieve it, but it's not. And it's a different experience for everyone. And just giving these players the tools, tips and strategies to learn how to hit their target sooner is what we're trying to achieve.
It's interesting. You mentioned some of the best players in the world and their transition might be shorter than the average Joe, but there's the mental aspect to the transition to me that is really, really profound. How much of Mission Prime in your mind is mental?
There are so many players and I've seen, I've played with, and that were in my class, player recruits, guys coming out of New Jersey that had so much more talent than I had. But for me, the thing that separated me was, it wasn't the things on the field, it was the things off the field and things in between my ears that allowed me to overcome and understand what it took for me to be successful. And I think there are players that get to school and they don't, for whatever reason, they don't understand or have the intestinal fortitude to go after, those things off the field and really dial in those things mentally. That ends up allowing them to maximize the talent that they have. And you see that so often where the players, you look at two players in the same class and one guy is so much more talented as a recruit, but that talented recruit doesn't end up doing anything. It comes down to the things off the field and the things in between his ears that are, allowing him to continue to maximize his potential.
So much of this is really intriguing to me because I think it's a unique concept. I don't see this out there a lot or at all. But the reality is we're in a really tough spot from a humanity perspective, right? With the coronavirus and the unknowns. If you have to take this model and go virtual with it, how can you do that?
Absolutely. And, I think starting this 7 months ago, I could have never predicted what could have happened. I don't think anyone could. And everyone's facing challenges right now with this. Mine happens to be building this for the players, right? So for me, when I look at Mission Primed, it's not something that you just preach to the players. It's something that I've lived and I continue to live. And what I mean by that is that it's allowed me, and this mindset that I have and the way that I've gone about things, it's allowed me to adjust on the fly and kind of pivot to be able to take this virtual, knowing that I can still deliver an experience that's going to be worthwhile to these players. And that's just a testament to the culture of Mission Primed. And the way that I see it is, these players have so much adversity at hand right now. Just recently with their senior seasons canceled and, the future being so unknown, that when everything starts back up, I want to know that I'm putting them in a better position to be ready to attack that, as opposed to, kind of just waiting around in the dark. And I think that, something like Mission Primed, that I'm so passionate about and believe in, I know that I can help better position for them when that day comes.
I look at the undertaking of all of this. There's so many different components to what you've been describing to me. You can't do this alone. Who's on board with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, this kind of just speaks to one of our pillars really with Mission Primed, which is relationships. I think I look at, my relationship with you, where that started and kind of how that's grown. I could have never had known what that would have been like, when you came to Rutgers my senior year. And kind of, since I've been younger, I recognized how important it was to build relationships. And now kind of at the point I am now where I'm starting to build Mission Primed, I've leveraged the relationships that I've built in the sport, to bring people on board with the vision that I have that now trust me and believe in what I'm doing and believe what this can do for the players. Guys, I'm so excited about, a guy like Mike Ginta, who runs Evolution Physical Therapy. He's the head physical therapist of the Premier Lacrosse League. I've come to work with him so much and grown a relationship with him, going back and forth about different things that can help me and help my body. And I really feel like he's one of the top at what he does. And now for him to come on and believe that he can deliver that same thing to the players and get them to start thinking kind of outside the box about taking care of their bodies. A guy like Eli Gobrecht, who I've now just played with for the past season with the San Diego Seals, worked with him with the City Side Lacrosse for the past 2 years, getting to know him. He's a guy that, went to Division III Ithaca and is now, really ascended into the pro ranks as a two-time, professional champion and now won a, new Premier Lacrosse League player. And in my opinion, one of the best players in the league. To have a guy like him, to have his experience as a Division III player and what that took, and to be able to deliver that in an authentic way to these players, I think is priceless. And something that, I admire so much, and I know that these players will admire. I'm a guy like Mark Lassini, who, if you look around the league and talk to anyone in the lacrosse community, they'll really talk about the type of teammate he is, the type of person he is. And I really believe he embodies what Mission Primed is all about and lives it every day through his peak performance business. And he's going to be on is a kind of our mental coach, the guy that's going to talk about peak performance and what it means to tie in everything that is Mission Primed through the mental lens. And I think, the ability to bring all these people together just speaks to how important, relationships are, like I said, and that's one of the most important things about Mission Primed.
With Mission Prime, from our conversations, it's all about the next generation. What do you think the biggest impact Mission Prime will have on that next generation?
For me, growing up, there were so many camps and things that I'd go to, where you just go and you kind of leave, you learn something. But for me, Mission Prime is not going to be something where you just come and learn and leave. we're building real relationships with the players. And I know that life, like I said before, is all about relationships. So what we're trying to do is really build a stronger base for these players for their entire lives, not just the 4-year window. And at the end of the day, a lot of these players aren't going to want to be professional lacrosse players or even have that opportunity. But we know that they have the opportunity to impact players on a greater level in the sport. And I know anyone that knows me knows I go above and beyond, to really share and spread the knowledge that I've learned. And the reason I do that is because so many people have helped me, and I was lucky enough for it to have worked out for me. But, not everyone has the intestinal fortitude or the wherewithal to put it together. And I think, looking back on my experience at Rutgers, there were guys that, I tried to help, kind of put everything together. And there were the younger guys that I tried to help, influence. And I saw that how important that was. And now I feel as though it's my obligation to share, what I've learned in the way that I see things. And what I know that I can do to now for these players is to really inspire them, to take ownership and own their experience, which is, one of the mottos of Mission Primed. And that inevitably will grow their love of the game and allow them to pass that knowledge on that they have to their teammates. And that then extends their relationships with them and grows that. And that inevitably will help them, grow their passion and deliver that to the next generation.